Welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Palcher.
And if you like what you see /hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. Our most popular platforms are YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Okay, this week we got a special treat for you. I don't know how special it is, but this will be a special episode. I have a feeling.
It's like that one special episode of like a Different Strokes kind of a show, or it's like somebody gets stuck in like a refrigerator.
A very special episode of Deep Dive Film School.
Yeah, we are reviewing the end of Dana Carvey's movie career. This is 2002's
Master of Disguise. I had not seen this before. Have you?
No.
I'd seen it peripherally, trailers.
Yeah, the turtle guy in the trailer. There was in
whatever.
2002. I remember that.
We're probably in college age at this point, and so this was probably past our Billy Madison phase or whatever.
But this is a Happy Madison movie.
No, for sure, and I will get to that. It is written by Dana Carvey, directed by Perry Andeline Blake,
the only movie he ever directed.
But what he is a production designer on basically every Adam Sandler movie that's ever existed.
Right.
So they basically gave him a shot. It is a Happy Madison production. 1% on Rotten Tomatoes, deservedly so. The IMDb logline says, an Italian waiter fights off a criminal mastermind with his inherited powers of disguise. Okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
A little interesting,
Sounds
but all right.
Kind of interesting. Who's the Italian waiter? Is it like, is it like an Italian guy?
Dana
is
Carvey,
it maybe
he's funny, Wayne's World, SNL. That sounds cool, right? And I do want to preface this by saying Dana Carvey can be funny and is funny. He's a funny guy.
He's a very funny guy.
I don't know. I questioned at the beginning before I even turned it on and saw this really slow 3-minute credit sequence that we open up with this book. I'm like, okay, so where did it go wrong? Why didn't this work? Does he go too far? Is there too many impressions?
Is it too funny? Is it too funny that people didn't
just
get it?
Yeah, they don't get it. Does he go overboard like, say, someone like Robin Williams tended to once in a while in his career? I'm not sure, and so I don't even know where to begin.
Well, let's begin with this the intro of this film, this title sequence that does go on very long, and whoever the knockoff Sheryl Crow is that's singing, telling me this is gonna be fun, I don't know if I believe her. I don't know if I think this is going to be fun.
Oh, that's so funny you mentioned the knockoff song right off the top, because there's at least 5 Master of Disguise songs that are originally made for this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a master of disguise.
Yeah, in these sort of like, you feel like they're like
it's like fake. It seems fake.
They're not real bands. And I actually did a little bit of research, and like none of it's all these guys who do pop knockoff songs for movies.
Yes, that's exactly
and so it's sort of is like, were they trying to make this into, he was supposed to be like an Austin Powers, or like this is the first of 10 Master of Disguise movies.
Oh, it's a franchise.
To look into the life and times of Pistachio Disguisey.
Okay, so let me just preface this whole thing by, I'm sorry to the Carvey family. We're, I assume, not going to be kind. You made your money back. I looked at the numbers. You made your money back like the first weekend somehow. But
it's like a car accident. You get money at the end of it.
I genuinely think I could end up being mad at the end of this episode, because there's a lot of things. One, I have questions about, and like, why?
Yeah,
why?
So many whys.
And also just overall, and I'll hit on this constantly, is how lazy and lowbrow the jokes are, and they infuriated me, because one, they kept going back to the same jokes that weren't funny the first time.
Yep.
So let's do it 8 more times, still not funny, and so it made me as an audience member feel like they thought I was stupid.
Oh yes,
because I couldn't get it, and then you go into I don't know. There's so much problematic stuff with the impressions themselves.
Well, can I start with one really quick here? And because I was trying to think of like what what is the actual what's a tell of a bad comedic movie? Like what's a tell? And I realized what it is.
Yes, please tell me.
The death knell of a comedic beat is a dissolve. Okay? When you dissolve from one scene into another, it means that even the person who made the movie doesn't know where the joke ends. We talked about this when we did that one scene from Something About Mary.
Yeah.
That all of the hard cuts from one punchline of the joke to the next are what made it punch up and up and up until finally you're like, it's too much. I can't handle it. Master of Disguise is full of soft dissolves into a new bit. And in the dissolve,
So many bits.
As it's dissolving, you see Dana Carvey in one of his outfits still kind of mugging, and it dissolves out where his grandpa's like, no, this kid. And I was like, that's the worst kind of humor, where it's like they're still aping an idea as we've dissolved to keep the story going. I'm like, no. The hard cut. Watch any Mel Brooks movie. The hard cuts are how you punctuate a joke into the next scene, right? So you're still laughing, and now you're looking at something new.
But they're just cramming every joke they can think of into this.
And they don't know when it ends, right? Like
right.
They don't know when the end of like what's the funny part of the Al Pacino impression, right? Because it just keeps going and going, and you're like, we have to fade away from this because there's no moment where you're like, and there it is. Okay, hard cut, and now we go to a new scene. If you're like, I don't know, he's still doing it. How much of this are we going to film? You're like, let's just dissolve. Let's dissolve to a new scene. So that to me is the death knell of good comedic beats, is the slow dissolve into a new scene. And this guy, I don't know, whoever edited it, whoever directed it, it just was like, I don't know, was that the joke? Right? When Grandpa and Pistachio are eating ice cream and they're looking at the girl with the big butt, and it turns around and it's a guy, and they're both like, oh, and it slow dissolves out of that. I'm like, did we get enough of their reaction to know that was the funny part? It made me realize something, which is that watching something that's not funny, that's trying to make you laugh, is like,
it's worse.
Well, it's like if you get groped on the subway, you're not getting turned on, but the guy who's groping you is trying to turn you on, right? And you're like, there's nothing about this that's turning me on, right? Yeah. But it just keeps happening. That's what it's like to watch a not funny movie that's trying to make you laugh.
Here's a sentence I'd never thought I would utter. Can I get into this thing? This is from the IMDb trivia. I always check that out before we watch movies just to get little nuggets and stuff. It's a great resource. Pistachio's big butt fetish was created because the filmmakers wanted to push an anti-anorexia statement.
No,
did they do that?
I don't believe you. I don't believe that. That's bullshit. I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that. You want to know a piece of trivia? Like, in speaking about how wrong-headed this movie was, and just like how bad the jokes were, and how much they were pushing those jokes to work. And I talk about this.
Spiner farts one more time.
Oh my God. Well, we'll get to that. But I was just going to say, I talk about the concept of sandwich movies. I just barely talked about it in our tops and flops. They gave $14,000 to Madonna's estate to use the Papa Don't Preach lyrics.
And that's the other thing, is the jokes here are so dated.
Oh.
And like they're doing Malcolm in the Middle jokes and Backstreet Boy jokes and Papa Don't Preach jokes, and I'm just like, well, I mean, that didn't. This whole thing's not aging well already.
Yeah, but you get $14,000 to use like a 20-some-odd-year-old song, I guess. But like, why?
All right, let's get into a little bit of the
story, the lore of Pistachio.
Of the laziest last name ever, Disguisey.
Yep.
And we get the history of Pistachio as a little weird boy who wore underwear on his head.
I feel so bad for James Brolin. Like, was he being audited by the IRS and needed money quick?
I definitely have questions for him about.
So
he must
bad.
have been hitting some hard times.
He must have been,
because
he's married to fucking Barbara Streisand. How much of a hard time could be hitting?
Good point. But so we get the history of him as this weird kid. And honestly, like throughout the whole movie, I'm like, how old is he supposed to be? I know. Like he acts like he's a 5-year-old.
We don't fast forward from the first time that we meet him and he's got the shaving cream beard. And so I'm like, same thing. I was like, is he a little boy? Or
because
is
that
he...
would honestly make more sense. Like if it was like a Jack thing, like Robin Williams, you know, like if it was something like that, then I could be like, okay, I can kind of see what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's the most ignorant person you'd ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how like family trees work. His grandpa comes and says, I'm your father's dad. He's like, oh, my sister. And I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah. Is he supposed to be...
Are you slow?
Is he
like,
supposed to be special?
But and then you throw in this awful Italian accent. And they're in America. Like, what is the reason for them being Italian?
When that started, I was like, I remembered in my head thinking, the whole movie? He's going to be doing this the whole movie? Like, it made me so sad for him.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he Italian? Like, why were they like, and I don't know if it was like a Shrek thing where they're like, oh, you know, Mike Myers, who you used to do Wayne's World with, built a whole career out of doing this fake Scottish accent. Maybe you could be the Italian guy. Yeah. But I'm like, it's not a good Italian accent.
Well,
it's like, it's not, at least when Mike Myers does a Scottish accent, there's something just inherently charming and funny about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing funny about the character of Pistachio. He's just awful. He's just terrible.
Front to end awful.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have this whole family history of this secret society that's protecting the world through disguise.
Right.
Which is obviously a major branch of the government.
Well, you know, one of the only jokes that Adam Sandler actually offered to this movie is the Abraham Lincoln one.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know what? It's going to be fine. We're never going to get dinged for this. We're going to play 2 seconds of just that part right here. I'm so sorry that we had to do that.
I'm sorry.
But but it's literally where you're like, what's the joke? Is the joke that it's anachronistic music? Is the joke
your family history is being like the hype up guy for Abe Lincoln? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Anyways.
How is that an important role?
I don't know. Okay. None of these questions are going to be answered, unfortunately.
No, they won't be.
So to tag on to the Adam Sandler part that you're just talking about, he did executive produce this film and came up with 2 film gags. One is the Abraham Lincoln dancing to "I like to move it, move it," and then the Club Turtles scene when Pistachio bites off the guy's nose and then spits it back on his face. Let me finish. Dana Carvey afterwards said that the film would have gone nowhere without Sandler's help. Those two scenes specifically. Mwah.
Like I get, listen, I get that like the anachronism of "You Gotta Move It" song existing during the Gettysburg Address is like, you know, it goes beyond the suspension of disbelief. I understand that.
The nose, like what the fuck?
The nose thing is, it means we're no longer even in regular reality anymore. Yeah. And like, okay, I can deal with the fact that it's not actually Bo Derek. It's actually James Brolin looking like Bo Derek, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
no, it was Bo Derek.
No, but what I'm saying is like, you know, the CGI like and takes the head off. I'm like, okay, I get that we're playing with reality a little bit, but to bite off a person's nose, no like gore, just flat, like the thumb creature from Kung Pao. Like it's like, right, just like bad CGI, and then it comes back. I was like, in that moment, I went, no, stop it. No. Yeah.
Like what is happening right now?
It's not reality. Like you have to at least agree that like
I didn't think that particular Turtle Club scene could get any weirder or worse.
And then that happened. Yeah.
And
you're like, is it a dream sequence? Like how did that happen?
It feels like it.
Yeah.
And so the image I sent you to do this was him in the turtle suit.
Yes.
But okay, so this is his first time trying out. He's been training with Grandpa and his new hot assistant.
And there's some good brown face in here.
I figured we'd get to that.
Yeah.
But this scene. So this is the scene where you're supposed to be sneaking into this club with your disguise,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
you're supposed to be low key.
Yeah.
This is
This
what
is
you,
low key.
This is what you show up.
But
and
that's
then,
the thing.
And then I'm a turtle in the turtle club. Good turtle. He doesn't even say anything. He
No.
just is like nonsense gibberish.
Yeah, because you're like, well, what would a turtle say? And it's like, I guess he would say his own name 500 times. And the other part of it too is it's like that's the thing I don't understand is like how like in the flashback that we get of how the different disguisee family were able to help mankind. It like one of them is that the guy, and it is Dana Carvey also in this role, is dressed up as a statue and pokes a would-be robber in the butt to get the trophy back or whatever so that he can't steal it. And you're like, that makes sense. You would dress up as a disguise. Or a horrible joke, one of the first environmentalists, and it keeps George Washington from cutting down a cherry tree because he's dressed up as a tree, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't love it, but the tree disguise I also get. I'm like, that's an interesting thing. At no point does Pistachio dress up as something that doesn't immediately become the center of attention for everyone there. He dresses up as Al Pacino, I guess.
Scarface.
Yeah, or Scarface, and then a little bit of Carlito's Way-ish kind of a thing at a couple of moments, and is the center of attention the entire time. And so you're like, that's a terrible way of being any kind of an espionage like infiltrator.
Exactly. And it's just not entertaining. You're just letting this guy go. That's all this movie is. It's based around him, and he's just going. He's just making it up. But sorry, Dana Carvey, you are great, and you are good at impressions. I will give you this. The Robert Shaw impression was fucking awesome.
It's the one, I wrote it down. It's the one part of the movie that I liked. I actually laughed.
Yeah.
Not out of embarrassment, but I genuinely laughed because I was like, that's a pretty good impression.
He's good at what he does, but you're not Martin Short or something like that where you can just go and it's always funny, right?
Also, he's good at celebrity impressions, and I would ask you,
why
outside
don't you do
of
that more?
Robert Shaw and Al Pacino, and then at the very end we get tagged on George W. Bush, are any of his others actually good or a thing? Like, they're not even a person, like, they're not a celebrity. If he was constantly impersonating celebrities, I'd be like, okay, the fact that it's Dana Carvey makes this important.
Sure, yeah.
Right? But
we've seen Eddie Murphy do this. We've seen, a variety of people do this.
But Turtle Guy, I'm like, what is that supposed to be? What am I supposed to be getting from that?
So, I have to get this out of the way. This movie came out in 2002.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm so glad we're doing this.
It was shot in 2001, in September 2001, 9/11, but it was September 24th, and so everyone still with the effects of 9/11 had to make this. This movie was scheduled to be shot. They're gonna do it, but apparently the director at the beginning of the shoot was like, I know this is a weird time to be making this movie, gives this really heartfelt speech. And there's Dana Carvey standing in his turtle suit because that's the first scene that they shot.
They did a moment of silence.
Yeah, they did a moment of silence with him in the turtle suit.
It's important that America learns to laugh again, Adam. I don't know if you think about it that way.
That is true.
Yeah.
But
can we learn to laugh again?
Yeah,
with Dana Carvey and his
not the vehicle
suit.
for that. No. This did not save America.
No, many people didn't know that another national tragedy happened September of 2001, and it was that the shooting began of Master of Disguise. You know that feeling that you get when you know that you drank too much and you're home now and you've stopped drinking, the party's over, but you're like, I almost puked, but it's coming. Every time the montage music started in this movie, it gave me that same feeling, that same seasickness of like, oh, here we go again.
Forcing jokes. He's fighting the robot.
And it's going to be the music, and it's going to be these fast cuts. And like, obviously there's the one where we get the back history. There's the one where he's trying on different disguises to see what works. When he's fighting the robot thing, when they're doing
Indian
the
guy,
assistant.
Though, in blackface is truly offensive, though. I'm actually surprised it doesn't get talked about more because it goes on for a long time.
Yep.
And it's just yikes. And I was like, I hope it wasn't going to go here, but damn it, Dana Carvey did it.
It's the worst.
He really wants to be Jerry Lewis.
Right. Well, and he says, I also read this, that in that scene, the reason why he says like 200 times that his character's from India is also because of 9/11, since it was a brown face and he was wearing a turban. And I'm like, that's your save? That's your way of being like, look, we're not making fun of Middle Easterners. This brown face I'm doing is an Indian guy. And you're like,
this is a non-racist brown face.
So much better.
Let's get into Brent Spiner and him as the bad guy.
Data.
Who doesn't come back for revenge, really. He just wants to come back and steal all these rare items with James Brolin.
Yeah. And by rare items, we mean like the Liberty Bell and the fucking Constitution.
The Constitution.
Like,
and like Apollo 13.
Yes. Brent, Star Trek's Data Spiner in a role of a lifetime.
Terrible evil guy. Absolutely terrible. So
well, he's just not a very good actor. Like, I mean, he's great as Data.
Sure.
But everything else, like he plays the hillbilly character in like Night Court, right? But you're just like, yeah, he's a TV actor. And so seeing him here is just like, it's so sad.
It
just
fits perfectly
terrible.
with the rest of it. He's a terrible evil guy. And then again, the farting joke. Kept going. They couldn't not do it. They couldn't
every
help
time you
themselves.
see him, he farts
as he's evil laughing, right?
Yep.
And it's just like, and then the whole joke is that it kind of kills the moment. Right?
Yeah, it's like a record scratch, right?
So let me ask you, how the fuck did they get so many people to sign up for this movie? And because there's cameos galore through this thing. You get Jesse Ventura.
Jessica Simpson. If this movie didn't come out in 2002, like, holy shit.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, how did they get all these people to sign up? Not that those are, like, A-listers, I guess, but, like, Bo Derek, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was
Kevin Nealon?
Kevin Nealon is the black market eBay guy. I mean, I get the SNL ones. You can call your buddies up and say, hey, come be in my movie.
Yeah, I guess it's just, I have no idea.
They didn't know what it was.
Yeah, they didn't know. Well, I think that it still is like, you know, it's 2001, but I mean, people are like, yeah, it's a Adam Sandler produced movie with Dana Carvey in it. And it's like, yeah, I guess I'll do that. I mean, at that point, how many Happy Madison movies had there been? Like, it wasn't like it is today, where, but not as many. I mean, if you think about, like, when was Big Daddy? Was that 2000, 2001?
I kind of want to say that was 90s, but maybe it was early 2000s.
But I mean, even that, which is a lesser known one of his early movies, was still received pretty well. Like, Adam Sandler at that time was still considered to be kind of a hip guy, right? And so, like, I don't think that it had what it has now, where it's like, oh yeah, no, they'll just crank out anything and put anyone in
I mean,
it.
I'm guessing Sandler hit the bong. It was like, you know, it'd be funny, these two jokes. I'm done. You guys make your movie.
And apparently this was originally a vehicle for Jim Carrey.
I could see that because you mentioned Austin Powers earlier. It was in that wave of that kind of stuff. And I did think of Ace Ventura as well, because, you know, he plays characters in that movie to some degree.
And the movies...
It's a little extreme, but like, it's actually funny though. And like, there's comedic timing.
Well, and wouldn't you agree that in a movie like Ace Ventura, or even let's say an Austin Powers movie, to do something that was close to the turtle biting the guy's nose off, if the rest of the jokes are so bombastic that they're working, those same elements that totally leap into absurd surrealism are forgivable. You forgive them because you're like, you know, at the end of, and obviously we've been seeing a lot of it just because Carl Weathers just recently passed away, but there's that image at the very end of Billy Madison where
Happy
they all
Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, where they look up to the clouds and he's up there and Abe Lincoln's up there and the crocodile's up there and they all wave. And you're like, that's not a dream sequence. That's supposedly in the reality of the movie. But because all the rest of it has been so funny, it's forgivable. Like, you don't get mad at it the way you get mad at stuff in this.
I legit got mad.
Yeah,
and
same.
Everything's so stupid. Like, his, like, stupidly named, too. It's just lazy shit that they keep
What's
going
the name
back
of
to.
his dog? The cuteness.
The cuteness, but his grandfather's done kind of training him and leaves Pistachio the nest in the box and the disguisey ball of knowledge.
Yeah.
Which neither of them ever get used.
Nope.
Do they?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No.
They never explain what they do. They just throw them in there.
They're stupid MacGuffins.
Exactly, but it's like the disguisey ball of knowledge. Come on, who the fuck wrote this movie and let this get made? It's insane.
So I want to talk. Can we?
I want to talk about the least believable part of the movie.
I'm intrigued to see what it's going to be.
Well, let me start here and say, Jennifer Esposito is a sight for sore eyes in this movie, and I feel bad for her the entire time. She's the only one doing any research.
Yes.
I know she's his assistant, but she's the only one doing any research.
Is it Spin City that we know her from? Is that it? Spin City and Maxim Magazine. I feel like those are the two things I know her from.
She's a lovely lady.
No, she's yeah, she is a sight for sore eyes. That's a great way of saying it.
But especially in a movie that I was just getting pissed. But the least believable part of this movie is that they fall in love.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, because again, is he a child? Like we got to go back to
like,
this.
Oh, he is charming after that.
Yeah, because even when she goes to
British
kiss,
cop.
oh fuck. Well, even when she goes to kiss him, it's the worst because he doesn't kiss back, and then he kisses after, and you go, are you developmentally disabled? Like, and I'm not saying that as a dig at anybody. I'm just saying like, what is it supposed to be that okay, your character's silly, and we know he's really bad at serving spaghetti. And then he's bad at like impersonating people and they get mad at him. Also, while we're talking about that, why did his father protect him from the disguisey family? Like there's never a good reason, right? There's no reason. It would be different if it's like, he's really bad at it. If it was, he's really bad at it, then I'd be like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like he's bad at it. And so that's why he's not able to do it. But they're like, no, he's a perfect mimic. Right. And you're like, but he's not. He's bad at it. He becomes Al Pacino, and then everybody's like, get that guy. And you're like, that's not his dad being Bo Derek. Like, it's not, it's the wrong skill set. It's not like he's super talented. And to go along with that, also the other part
he does learn how to slap fight, and he beats up Trent, Jennifer Esposito's, very hunky boyfriend.
Yeah, why is that?
Who yells at him for being nice to her kid.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're trying to do here, bud. Yeah, none of that makes any sense. And then along with that, the other part that was really tough for me to understand is they set up what seems like would be classic bits. Like, okay, just throwing this out there. Towards the end here, when they first go to infiltrate Brent Spiner's special dinner or whatever with all the ritzy guests at it, Dana Carvey dresses up as this woman that's basically like a more high quality version of the church lady, right, from SNL. And he looks great. It's very funny. Like just looking at him, it looks funny. The voice he's using is funny. And Brent Spiner looks at her and is immediately disgusted, sees Jennifer Esposito and starts hitting on her, right? Invites Jennifer Esposito to the party. And the whole time, Dana Carvey, as this, older, dowdy looking woman, is being like, well, I know that you like me. And he's like, get her out of here. And I was like, I'm not a Hollywood punch-up guy. In a half a second, how about Brent Spiner does find Dana Carvey in that outfit attractive, and he's trying to grab her ass, and some like it hot, right? Or again, like very Mel Brooksian sort of a, what if Jennifer Esposito has to put on a disguise, even though she's not a disguisey, she dresses up as Al Pacino and has to go in there and save him, and all of a sudden you go, that's actually fairly funny, and it'd be a nice switcheroo, and it would be a way that you could actually have a little more levity in the moment and make it into something that's interesting or worth watching. But no, of course, he just wants her, and so then it means that Dana Carvey has to become Al Pacino. And I'm like, I like thought of a better movie in the 30 seconds while I was watching that scene going, yeah, that probably would have played better than this.
Well, and the payoff too, saving his dad to get his dad out of the trance he's in, is putting underwear back on his head.
Yep.
That's the thing that take him out of the trance.
Yep.
What?
And also that Brent Spiner's
Your savior.
his plan at the end of it was to glue a mask of himself onto the world's greatest disguise guy, impressionist, and then throw him off a cliff to fake his own death. And I'm like, couldn't you just go get a dead body and do that? Like, why does it have to be him if you're just putting a mask on him anyway? He even shows us the mask. He's like, that's what I'm going to put on him. And you're like, why?
We've already talked too long about this movie.
We have.
Truly an awful, terrible, shitty movie. Might be my least favorite movie ever.
It's it's definitely the worst punishment review we've ever done.
Absolutely.
And we've done Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. We've done the sorority babes and the slime bullathon of death. Like, we've done some fucking really terrible movies.
This one actually made me angry. And it was finally over. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, of course there's going to be outtakes.
Yep.
So even when it's over, it's not over. The whole credit sequence, he's doing all the we get all the B-roll of the stuff that didn't make it into the movie, and then they keep going into more jokes. And then they go into a joke that didn't even have any relevance the whole rest of the movie.
Do you know why they did that?
Because they're terrible people. I don't know.
Yes. Without that 6 minutes, that's 6 minutes, right? Like, that credit sequence is 6 minutes long.
It doesn't stop.
They needed the 6 minutes, otherwise they couldn't release it as a feature-length film.
Oh, because it's a minute,
because it's like 64. Yeah, it's like 60 or whatever. It's like 70 something minutes long, and so they needed that 6 minutes because they trimmed it down out of the movie. Because they were like the test audience. I want you to imagine that. Just imagine for a minute. There's enough people with so little to do on planet Earth that in 2002 there was a test audience for Master of Disguise, and they came back and they were like, "We're confused," and so they
walk in and
down.
They're like, "Man, 9/11 just happened. I'm still bummed out. I hope this really is good."
They're like, you know what sucks? Movies. Movies suck, and we should make less of them.
Day. Truly terrible. And then the man inside of the robot the whole time. Like, why are you pulling that joke out now?
So this is the last thing I'll say is that
this movie.
I'm glad that we've done this show for long enough that even in the face of something this fucking terrible, when it got to the part where he disguises himself as a cherry pie to get into the Brent Spiner's lair, and he gets out and his little dog, the Cuteness, is there, I wrote down, how the fuck did the dog get there? That is like totally inconsistent. It makes no sense that the dog would be in his lair. How did the dog get there? And I was like, oh, Adam, like, that makes me really happy that I still paid that much attention to the movie, that I'm like, that's an inconsistency. Right? Like, talk about a continuity break. Took me right out of the movie.
Yeah,
how'd the dog get there?
Yeah, boy, like that. Like, you hadn't been taking it. Like, it really ruined everything.
But I did. It made me happy that I was like, I still am trying to take it this seriously. That I was like, why are you treating me like an idiot?
It's true.
How did the dog get to Brent Spiner's lair?
I feel the same way. But hey, we do this for the people. We do this for you guys. So
You're welcome.
Yeah, boy, that was a fucking task. But please like and subscribe. Find us in all the spaces and places. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are our most popular platforms. Next week, we're going to get into that one scene from The Hangover. So join us for that and all our other festivals coming up, and we'll see you then.
Bye, you guys.
See ya.